Hello YouTube, welcome back. Alright, in our last video I introduced viewers to Little Blue, which was like a 2003 Dodge Grand Caravan that was kind of beat up, and that was the base vehicle that I purchased to make my minivan because that's what I could afford. The next series of videos are actually going to be tours of different versions of the van and the various systems that were set up in it, like for cooking, for keeping food cold, and keeping the person inside cold or cool, because I'm based out of Florida, which gets pretty hot. I'm not going to show the actual van build because the van build videos were mostly assembly, because I basically transferred stuff from Little Blue 1 to Little Blue 2. But essentially, in building out the van, which this isn't the van, but in building out the van, I made some errors that I'm going to try to talk about on this video so that people building out their vans don't make the same mistakes. Okay, the first was that when I had cabinets and stuff, I put them on the passenger side of the vehicle, and some of the cabinets were tall and actually blocked the windows, the side windows of the vehicle. So when you have to look, to make your turns and whatnot, the cabinets would actually block your view. So if I were building a van from scratch now, and I were going to put up cabinets and stuff that go up high all the way to the roof of the vehicle, or block the window, I would put it behind the driver, not on the driver's side, not on the other side. Although you still have to kind of watch about, for weight distribution. You don't want the driver's side super heavy and the other side really light. So you kind of have to make sure you spread the weight out. But the cabinets were in Little Blue 2 were actually plastic, the cheap Walmart plastic ones. And I used those cabinets because they were light. They were already pre-assembled, and in building Little Blue, I had several design philosophies. The first was that it should be something anybody could put together really cheaply, and the second was that it'd be lightweight and also look nice. So I got the cabinets and stuff, and I laid them out and made them so that they took up about a foot or so. 14 inches is about how wide those cabinets were, the dressers, the drawers. So I took 14 inches from the driver's side, well, not from the driver's side, from the side of the vehicle, and that's what I put the cabinets. So if you're going to put in cabinets, put them on the behind yourself, behind the driver's. When you look back, you can't really see anyways. You can look out your window, but behind you won't be able to see anyways. And that way, when you have to look the other way to make your turns or to see if a vehicle's coming up, you have a clear view. So that's one big tip for building it out. The other thing was, I had originally incorporated a lot of stuff for gridded power use. Like, had a microwave. I think initially I had a microwave. I even had a toaster oven. Those are all actually usable if you are going to be parked where you have access to electricity. Like if you were at somebody's house, parked in their driveway, in their yard, or if you were at a park or someplace where you could plug in 120 volt power. But the reality is, if you're not going to be staying at somebody's house or whatever, you're not going to have access to 120 volt power, you don't really want to even install those items. It's just a waste of time and money. They make the vehicle look cool, and people like videos where the van looks like it's an actual house, has everything, running water and 120 volt access and stuff, with a microwave and maybe a toaster oven, and you can run a blender, run toast. You could do all that with the inverter and enough battery power, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do it if that's what you use. But in my personal experience living in the van, I seldom did those things unless I was trying to make a video to show that you could do it, and what you could do if you had access to 120 volts. Because all you're doing then is just carrying the item around, making it so it mounts and doesn't fly around. Everything has to be bolted down or screwed down if you're in a vehicle, because every time you drive and turn, things fly around. So you just screw all those things in place. But honestly, I never really used a microwave. I used a toaster oven when I did some episodes where I showed the toaster oven being used at a park or something. And it's actually nice to have a toaster oven. But 99.99% of the time I didn't use a toaster oven. The only cooking device that was really useful was actually, for me personally, the rice cooker. Because with the rice cooker, I could cook rice, I could cook steaks, I could cook ribs, I could cook spaghetti, I could cook ramen noodles, I could cook lo mein, I could cook anything, that you could cook. I could even heat up burritos and stuff, and heat up TV dinners. So the rice cooker system with the inverter, at least a 350 watt inverter, I would say is a high priority item if you want a versatile means of cooking and heating food. All the other options, like you'll see videos where I experiment with using sandwich makers, and they would actually be useful if you make sandwiches. Like, it's nice to be able to have a hot sandwich. People don't realize how much having hot food makes you feel more comfortable and secure and not stressed. If you're living in a vehicle and you're not a vegetarian or anything like that, and the only kind of foods you really get to eat are like cold cut sandwiches and stuff, it's kind of depressing. Or unless you go to a drive-through, which gets fairly expensive. But if you're able to cook foods like hot ham and cheese, or make a little pizza meal or a calzone, whatever, using a sandwich maker, it really makes a world of a difference. So now the sandwich maker, I think you would need at least 1,800 watts. I'm not sure. The way you check to see how many watts you need. No, wait, I don't think you need 1,800, because I think you need at least 800. But I don't think you need 1,800. The way you check how many watts an electrical item needs is usually on the bottom side of the appliance. There'll be a number that tells like how many volts. It'll say like 60 volt. It'll say like 120 volts or 115 volts if you're in the USA, and then how many watts it needs. And how many watts it needs is your inverter has to be able to handle that. So if it says it needs, if it needs 300 watts, which is what a rice cooker, the small little Walmart rice cookers require, then you need an inverter that can handle at least 300. And I recommend getting one that's 350 or more, 350 to 400 if you're using a rice cooker. If you want to be able to run stuff like a power drill on it, you might need at least a 750 watt power inverter. So those were the big things. Other things that I wanted to point out is, a lot of times people get so excited about living in a van and building out a van or a camper. They end up installing a lot of fancy stuff that I think are kind of just wasted money, as well as making things more complex than they need to be. And what I'm talking about is stuff like running water. People will buy like, I guess if they have the money, they can afford it, but people will buy like a sink with a pump, a sink and a water pump faucet, faucet with an electric pump and a switch, and install that and make it so that their van, their minivan or their van camper has running water. When you turn the knob or push a switch or whatever, water runs just as it would if you were in a house. And that could do some nice stuff for you psychologically, in that it makes you feel like you're not homeless. You actually have a home with running appliances and stuff like that. But honestly, I find that just carrying a jug of water, like a 2-liter water bottle or 1-gallon water bottle is fine. And you can just carry a plastic bowl and use that as your sink when you need to wash your hands and stuff. And then just toss that water out. You don't need to have it drained and have a gray water tank that you carry around in your little minivan. But people do that, And those vans look really nice, but honestly, I think a waste of money, and just more work for yourself, and when the system doesn't work, you know. So, you know, if I were building another minivan, I don't think I would have running water. I think I'd just stick with the standard, just a bottle that you pour by hand. And what else? You know, the only thing I would do that actually is a major modification, and it's not even that major, is adding a house battery to your vehicle. And what I mean by a house battery is adding a second battery bank. Most vehicles, you know, cars and stuff, at least have the starter battery has like about 100 amp hours in it. So I would suggest at least one more battery, one more 100 amp hour battery as your house battery. And nowadays, you know, this is 6 years post my experience living in the van when I started. They started making portable power packs, like the Jackery and stuff like that. So you might go with those, but I don't know if they have 100 amp hours. I don't think they do, look based on their size, unless they're carrying lithium-ion batteries. But I would go cheap and just go with the Walmart, you know, RV batteries. And if you're going really cheap, you could possibly go to the city or the town dump and recycling center and see if they have any batteries there that you could have or buy for real cheap. But I think they just give it away. I don't know if, you know, at the recycling center. So you could find an old battery. And old batteries won't hold the power that long, but you don't really need it to hold the power that long. You just need it to hold the extra power for when you're cooking, and also to run your appliances at night. And by appliances, I mean stuff like lights and fans. Possibly a TV or a tablet if you have one of those. But honestly, even though when I built my van, I did build in a TV and I installed video games and stuff, I didn't really play it too much other than to show that it could be done. You know, you could watch TV in it and stuff and run it off the batteries, vehicle house battery. But for most people, at least, you know, if I were doing it and not really trying to do it for YouTube, I don't think I'd install TV again, you know. Basically, I find that just living in the van, staying alive in the van, keeps you busy enough. And, you know, hanging out in nature, going to the parks and stuff. I didn't really do too much TV or video games and stuff. It's not that I didn't do it at all. I did play some games, but I didn't really watch too much TV. Like maybe once or twice I watched it the whole time on a rainy day. But for the most part, most of my time was spent outside, you know, with the birds, the dolphins, the squirrels, and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Upcoming videos will be several of the initial tours showing different layouts of the van, bed systems and whatnot. The other tip I would have is about bedding and stuff. I know a lot of people initially get the idea that they could possibly get a blow-up mattress, you know, one of those camping bed mattresses and stuff, to sleep on. I'm gonna say don't do that. It's a waste of your money. They tend to go flat. Every single one I've had goes flat after, you know, while you're in the middle of the night while you're using it, and you have to blow it up again and again and again, and it becomes a hassle. The other thing is in the build of Little Blue, in the initial build, you're going to see that I actually built like a little bench and stuff and bought garden cushions, you know, those puffy cushions from the garden seats and stuff like that, from Walmart. And I did that because I wanted to color coordinate, and I thought I wanted to color coordinate the interior of the vans that look kind of nice. But I also thought that they would be comfortable, but it turned out they were kind of a pain in the butt. They kind of went flat, and, you know, when you slept on them, and they weren't really that comfortable, so I got rid of them. So what I would recommend right up front, if you're going to build a bed and you're planning on living full-time in your van, you probably want to buy a real mattress. Maybe not a full-size mattress. If you're a short person, you might be able to get a baby mattress, you know, the kind for a crib, if you're that short. But if you want, what I had was, they sell those gel foams, the memory foam gels, and it was like the size of I think a single bed, and it fit nicely for like and it would fit even 2 people, 2 adults laying. It was like a single or double, but it was nice, and it was foam, and it was comfortable. So I can't emphasize how important it is if you're living in your vehicle to have a comfortable bed that you can sleep in. The bed should be as comfortable as a bed you'd sleep in if you weren't, living in a vehicle. Because without a comfortable bed, everything just goes downhill. You can't get good sleep, and you can't play it, and you can't do anything. So the bed's probably one of the most critical components for living in your vehicle. Other than that, it is the ability to cook food, and bathroom systems and stuff. You don't really need to get too complicated. I talk a little bit about it in videos, and I did build a fancy toilet seat. And by the way, that did get used a couple times, but I think the simpler the system you have, the better. I think for a minimum, you could get like a bucket, and if you didn't want the full size 5-gallon, you could possibly get a 2.5-gallon bucket, or you could do like I did. I don't know if I have it here. I'll show it later when I show the build out of this vehicle. I went to Dollar Tree and I bought some little like 1-gallon buckets, 2 of them, because they're kind of thin. So you put 2 of them and stack them on top of each other, they become strong enough to hold a person on it. And that's a really simple toilet system. It's not fancy. It only costs about $2 or $3 to make, and works. Now in Little Blue, it did have a really nice one that had a real full-size toilet seat, cushioned toilet seat, and everything. So that was nice. But in most builds and stuff, you could go with a simple 2-bucket. You could make a seat, make it comfortable. But space is a problem. You don't have much room in a vehicle to work with. So, and for number one, a bottle like a Gatorade bottle or something will be adequate. You basically want to use that stuff, make it small enough so that you could take it to a bathroom at a rest stop, or at a park or something, and go dump it in the toilet. You don't want to have a big, huge 1-gallon thing unless you're staying in your vehicle for a week at a time. But really, dumping it, don't be dumping it out in public, because that smell is, then people complain, and the next thing you know, you got a problem. Cops won't let you park and whatnot. I always tried not to dump waste and stuff out in the open. I would dump it in the bathroom and the toilets. And for number 2, you just bag it up and toss it into the garbage. People sometimes wonder about that, but people do that with baby diapers. So anyhow, and kitty litter, and dog poo. So good enough for the animals, good enough for the humans. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed the videos. We're gonna try to run the initial tours just to show different configurations of the van, and then I guess we begin our adventure. See you in those videos.